All right. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us this evening for this interview with our contest winner for August. We're going to jump right into the interview in just a second. But before we do that, I wanted to provide a little background about myself and a little background about this contest. As for myself, my name is O'Brien, and I am the CEO of the Dorian Way. I've been trading since the early 1990s. I was previously a registered investment advisor and held the Series 65 for registered investment advisors, the Series 3 for commodity pool operators. I ran a hedge fund and a family office for over a decade. And as I mentioned, I'm currently the CEO of the Dorian Way, which is an options mentoring firm that teaches individuals how to trade on options, where we specialize in teaching individuals how to trade options on a one-on-one basis. And through our process, we have what we call the Dorian Way School, where we help people learn through a self type of portal. And then we have group classrooms that we help people learn. And then obviously we teach people on a one-on-one basis. But we also teach people through what we call 3 different demonstration accounts to allow members to learn how to trade options by following us. We have what we call an all speculation demonstration account, where we're trading all different type of option strategies. We have what we call a bread and butter account, where we trade only stock indexes. And then we have what we call a 1 day a month demonstration account, where we literally try to trade once a month. And it's for people who have IRA accounts. It's for people who have a really busy schedule and don't have a lot of time to trade, and people just that don't want to make adjustments with options. Because usually if you're trading options aggressively, you're going to have to make adjustments. But through our 1 day a month trading account or plan, we try to literally keep it 1 day a month, and you don't have to do any type of adjusting. But through all those different ways that members can learn through us, we still don't want them to be robots, right? We don't want them to just mindlessly follow us. We want them to learn how to trade themselves. So we came up with a contest to encourage members to kind of outperform, to learn as much as they possibly can, to have the best performance. And we reward the member with the best performance with a monetary amount, and currently that's $100 a month. And our winner for August was Indy. And so we're going to jump into getting to know Indy and interview him and so forth. So good evening, Indy. How are you doing this evening?
Hey, good evening, Brian. I'm doing fine.
Okay, awesome. Thank you for deciding to participate in this interview tonight. Indy is unable to share his be on camera this evening. So what I'm going to do is we're going to interview him off camera, excuse me. So I'm going to turn off my camera as well, so it won't be distracting, and then we will jump into the meat of this interview. All right, so Indy, so let's jump into kind of some background information. Tell us a little bit about yourself, something like where you live at, what city you're in, where you're from, little family information, what you're currently doing, what you currently do for a living, things like that.
Yeah, sure. So my name is Andy Junan. So I currently live in Plano, Texas. So I am working for a company called Micro Focus. And for those who are not familiar, we used to be a software division of Hewlett Packard. So after a kind of like series of merger and spin off, so finally my division basically we merged with the UK company and known as Micro Focus. So my office here in Plano, for those of you who are familiar with Plano, used to be the EDS office. Yeah, so I'm married, 1 wife and 3 kids.
just one wife?
1 wife and 3 kids, that particular order.
I'm just joking. So that's awesome. That's awesome. So Hewlett Packard, huh? It used to be a division of Hewlett Packard. Okay. All right. They kind of fell out of love, Hewlett Packard. I remember they used to be, a darling of Wall Street, and it kind of, since Meg Whitman, I don't know if you were working for them when Meg Whitman was the CEO. Since she kind of left the company, they haven't been, you know, an everyday type of company that's talked about a lot, like on CNBC, Bloomberg, and things like that. But we'll see if they get their glory days back one day. With that said, Indy, kind of give us a little background about when you started trading, when did you get interested in the markets, so we can kind of get to know you a little bit regarding trading.
Yeah, so I guess I've been investing since the mid 90s. So I bought my first mutual fund. I think it was like in 1994, 1995. I think this was back when the minimum investment in mutual fund was like $500. So yeah, I bought mutual fund, and then during the .com boom, I tried to trade some stocks, but I soon realized that I just could not beat the performance of mutual fund. So therefore, I just kind of went back to mutual fund. So and then every now and then, every few years, I read some books and tried to trade here and there. Again, find that I couldn't beat mutual fund. So so that was why I got kind of always going back to mutual funds and eventually ETF. So it was late last year, late 2020, when my brother gave me a book called the Getting Rich with Options by Lilo. So that was what kickstarted my option trading journey. And so so in the book they talk about put spread. So after reading that book, I thought, hey, you know, there's something that I could do. So I started trading put spread. So I remember I put my first trade right after Christmas 2020.
Okay.
Yeah. So and I didn't know much about options at all. Certainly did not know anything about options Greek. So the only thing I could think of to minimize my risk was I just opened a no more than 5-point wide spread. But I traded options in like 60 stocks. So it was
60 stocks. Okay. So you jumped in, you know, head first, huh?
Yeah. So I didn't know anything about options, about Greeks, about the importance of delta, about gamma or anything like that. So the options I traded were like 15 days to expiration, so 2-week options.
Okay.
So obviously, you know, when things go wrong, they went wrong altogether, and they were all put spread, right?
Okay. All right. So when the market went down, you got hit hard with that gamma risk then, huh?
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. And so you were like a bunch of different people who kind of jumped into the markets when you know, when people were working from home and so forth. Did you start working from home from a second, Indy, in 2020?
Yeah.
Okay.
Spring break 2020.
Spring break. Okay. All right. So it was a lot of millennials and a lot of people, you know, joined the markets last year. It was an interesting time. You started obviously late in the year, and you started, you know, aggressively doing, you know, put spreads and almost like, you know, really short term, you know, 2 weeks or so. That's definitely short term. But what happened after that? How did you got I'm assuming you got hit hard with you know, you got hit hard with that put spread when the market dropped at some point in January or something. What happened, Indy?
Yeah, so I think from January till February everything went great. So by mid-February, my portfolio was up 24% since January, since I started trading. So only in 2 months, I was at positive 24%. But then market went down sometime between February and March, and by mid-March, and there was a month later, I was at negative 33.
Okay.
So I went from positive 24. Yeah.
Okay.
My overall portfolio went from negative plus 24 to negative 33 within a month.
Okay. And did you have a understanding why it happened, or were you kind of, you know, fuzzy about that?
I did not know anything. So that was basically the time when I had to admit to myself that I needed help, that I know nothing about options. So I had to essentially went back to square one And that was when I started basically starting looking all over the place for a mentor, for somebody who can kind of at least walk me through options trading.
Mhm. Okay. And so, how did you kind of land on the Dorian Way? Did you, I'm assuming you checked out a number of different mentoring firms, perhaps. What made you decide to, join the Dorian Way to help you with your option learning journey?
Yeah, checked out a few groups. So listen to their videos, just listen to their talk. So eventually, what led me to Dorian Way was that it seems to be a lot more basic and with the languages that I could actually understand.
Okay.
So the other groups that I checked out, a lot of them they actually assume that I understand options. So they talk
Mhm.
about really really advanced stuff.
Mhm.
And so for me, since I had to kind of go back to square one, I had to assume that I don't know anything. So I wanted somebody who can kind of guide me from the very beginning.
Okay, that's smart, right? So you wanted to go back to the beginning, the very beginning, and kind of build a foundation, and you wanted to be able to, I guess, easily understand the process, so that when you're building that foundation, it can be solid. You don't want to, um, go through all these difficult words that you don't understand, and it's not explained correctly. So hopefully we've been doing that, and I, obviously I know you, and I think we have. You've been using what platform, Indy?
I'm currently using Interactive Broker.
Okay. And were you using Interactive Brokers, years ago, or would you go to who did you go to buy the mutual fund from?
When I bought mutual fund, I went directly to the mutual fund company.
Okay, you went directly to the mutual fund company. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So
So basically, I was dealing with the multiple companies at the time.
Okay, makes sense. All right. Um, so what has you told us a little bit about your performance, and initially you're up about 24%, and then you dropped, about, you went down to negative 33%, and then you decided you was going to jump with the Dorian Way. And so how's your performance been since starting with the Dorian Way?
Well, I think I was just very good. Yeah. So for the month of August, I was almost up almost 20% for that 1 month, and for year to date, so today obviously it went down. So now as of today, my portfolio was up about a little over 7%.
A little over 7% on the year?
Yeah, from of the
Okay.
year. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So, and so, Indy, so people can kind of get an understanding. Do you mind kind of giving us a range, or, telling us how much you're trading with?
So I'm trading with over $100,000.
Okay. Okay. All right. So, and do you have portfolio margin, or are you just trading with regular T margin?
I have portfolio margin.
Okay. All right. So on Interactive Brokers, portfolio margin, and so what kind of strategies are you doing now, Indy? Are you still doing vertical spreads, like put spreads and call spreads? Um,
Yep.
what are you doing now?
Mainly just the put spread and call spread on index only.
Okay, on indexes. So you're doing similar to what we call our bread and butter type of trading, just on the stock indexes, selling spreads. And
Exactly. Yeah.
okay, and when you're doing that, what type of products is it? Is it Nasdaq, the Russell, is it the S&P 500, or is it, it's all of those, or are you using a certain one most of the time?
And now I trade all of them. So I trade
Okay,
on the stock index side as well as the future side.
okay,
So
okay,
essentially, I'm trading the SPX, NDX, RUT, as well as ES, NQ, and RTY.
okay, okay, perfect. So when you're trading, Indy, what type of lot size do you normally do? Are you doing one? Are you doing 10? You doing 20? What do you usually initiate your trade with, lot size wise?
So for those indexes, I do 10 usually.
10.
Now,
Okay.
from time to time, if I'm trying something new, I would do one. So, for
Okay.
example, today I decided to sell a naked call on VIX.
Hmm.
So I only did one contract.
Okay.
And
Okay.
then
Perfect.
a few weeks ago, I also tried the zero DTE trade. Since I wasn't familiar with that, I also tried one contract.
Okay, and
Now,
that's
whenever I got the trade ideas from Dorian Way, if it's some big companies that I know, for example, like Apple, then maybe I'll try 10 contracts. But anything other than that, it's just one contract. Like currencies or oil, gas, just one contract.
Okay, all right. So you're doing this on options on stock and options on futures?
That's right.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so in the Dorian Way, we teach both. It's a little different, but if you understand trading options on stock, you should be able to easily understand options on futures. When you're trading, options have built-in type of leverage. But do you use any type of margin, Indy?
I guess I just use the portfolio margin or spend margin, depending on what is the what interactive broker gave me.
Okay, perfect. So usually that's not it. That's You're not paying any interest on stuff like that, everyone. Just people who are listening, the when you set up an option account, it's called a margin account, but it's really not a margin account. You're not paying any interest on it, like if you're borrowing monies to buy stock. But you can do that in concert of using options, and then that's how you can use margin. So I wanted to ask that question: is he buying any stocks? But at this point, it sounds like, India, you are completely 100% in options in this trading account that you have, correct?
Yeah, at this time I'm all options.
Okay. So when you're putting on trades, these spreads, let's say if you put on 10 put spreads, how wide is that spread usually, Indy? Is it, how wide do you usually have the spread?
Yeah, so I try to follow the Dorian Way recommendation. So if it's options on futures, then it's on the put side, it's up to 100 points. The call side is up to 50 points, and then options on index now be 50 and 25.
Okay. All right. So, and when you are doing that, are you keeping the amount of puts you put on and the amount of calls you put on the same? Are you keeping symmetrical, or is it kind of more puts or more calls? How do you set that up, Indy?
Yeah, so I guess I kind of watch my delta. So if my delta is somewhat neutral, then I try to open an iron condor. Or if I'm kind of tilted to the long side, then I would open a call spread, and vice versa. So basically, when I open a new trade, I try to keep the delta neutral.
Okay, you try to keep the delta neutral. All right, so you don't necessarily have on like 50 put spreads and 10 call spreads. You're more neutral in how many you have on. Is that what you're saying?
Exactly, yeah.
Okay. So that obviously benefits you a little bit more from days like today, when the market went down quite a bit. But when the market is going up, then it kind of, it could hurt you a little bit on the upside. But you have been doing super well over the last several months, doing that type of strategy, even though the market for the most part, besides September, has been going up. So that's pretty encouraging.
The one thing I'm doing, I think help is I'm trying to spread out my trades over different expiration. So I try to have something that so when I open a new trade, they're always between 30 to 60 days, and I try to have trades that expire every week. So then therefore, when you're during days like today, when market goes down, I only have to adjust a few trades. So some of the spreads that are kind of like it's not expiring soon, the delta tends to be okay. So for example, today I only need to do one adjustment.
Okay, that's good. And it looks like right now, if I kind of show this market here, it looks like that the futures are up. So hopefully that'll be the case tomorrow. It felt like we were a little oversold today, but we will see. Um, let's continue, Indy, and kind of let us know what you're working on now to improve your trading. What are you focusing on? Is there anything you're focusing on to improve your trading, even past what you've been experiencing the last several months?
Yeah, so far, because I've been trading only the only options on futures and index, right, but it's still index. I
Hmm.
just feel like I'm concentrated in equities.
Hmm.
So I'm trying to add something other than equities. I think
Hmm.
something recommended was I started with oil. So basically, I'm
Hmm.
trying to add something that is non-related to equities.
Hmm.
So that, for example, when days like and there's another day like this, hopefully I won't be as affected.
Okay, that makes sense. You're trying to get into things that's less correlated with the overall market, since that's your core strategy and core position. You're trying to kind of diversify some, not only by expiration periods that you just mentioned, but you're now trying to diversify by different products like oil, maybe natural gas, corn, wheat, bonds,
Yeah.
currencies, things like that. And so that's great. That's great. I encourage you to do that and do what you said what you're doing, and is trying one contract, right? You have to learn how to get a feel for things before you just jump right in. You've been looking at the markets, even though you didn't start really trading until last year, late last year. You've been looking at the markets, right? You've been in a mutual fund for years. You were part of the dot-com craziness. So you kind of have a inherent, an innate type of feeling for the markets, right? And so it's probably easier for you to do the stock indexes, which is great. But the other things, it's going to have to grow. You're going to have to kind of get a feel for it. Even though we're quantitative traders, Andy, you're going to have to get a feel for it. So that's good that you're doing that. Um, all right. So the next question I want to ask you, Indy, is that what's been your biggest type of loss that you've had since you started? And I know it hasn't been long; it's coming on a year here. But what's been your biggest loss that you can remember?
I would say it's not one single trade, but more like a group of trades, particularly those the ones back in March that I did not know how to close.
Okay. Okay.
So even though they were put spread, but because I did not know how to adjust them, I did not know how to close them, I
Hmm.
ended up basically taking the full hit, the full loss.
Oh, okay. Okay. Interesting. So can you give us a range of what type of loss that was? Was it 1,000, 10,000, 50,000? What type of loss was that, Indy?
Oh, so the so basically because the maximum width for each spread was 5 points, so
Mhm.
we're talking about like a $5,000. So the overall they were like I think maybe like a 5 or 6 spreads
Okay.
that I had to
Okay.
take maximum loss. So we're talking about 30 grand.
Okay. Okay. 30 grand. All right. So
Yeah.
that's a decent sized loss, and it's an education, but you got all of that back, which is obviously great.
Mhm.
And you have to have a decent sized account to obviously withstand a 25, $30,000 loss, which you have, which is good. But you were smart enough to realize, okay, well, I need to know a little bit more, right? And believe it or not, it's a lot of people that it's stubborn enough to think that, okay, I can continue to do it myself, and that worked. That's how I had to learn years ago. But it's so much more resources now, and in my opinion, to be able to, not have to go through a college degree, or tuition to learn options.
Mhm.
But options are not easy to learn, as you know, Indy. It takes time. It's not an overnight process. But what's been your biggest winner? And I got a few more questions for you before we conclude, Indy. What's been your biggest winner?
Yeah, yeah. I would again say it's a group of spreads.
Hmm.
Yeah. So if I would say usually the biggest winner would tend to be the NDX simply because they are just the biggest.
Hmm. Okay. Okay. All right. And that's I'm assuming that do you hold to expiration, or are you taking these things off before expiration? Was your biggest winner, if it's a group of things, just like your biggest loser was a group of things, was it, was your biggest winner 20,000, 30,000, 40,000? What
Uh,
kind of a range?
no. So the biggest winners are it's okay. So so with the losers, because they were all concentrated, so there was I took the hit all at once.
Mm-hmm.
But since then, since I joined the Dorian Way,
Mm-hmm.
so that's just when I had the biggest winners. But because I spread them out, and
Mm-hmm.
each one of them was pretty small, so I would say the individual winner was again maybe around $5,000.
Mm-hmm.
But again, I had sometimes I had them 1 week after another, so it's like $5,000 per week kind of thing.
Okay. All right. Okay. Awesome. So, I had the privy to get to look at your account from time to time to see how you're doing. And, you've had 14, 20, $25,000 days and so forth, which is pretty awesome, right? Um, and and that's really encouraging to you kind of see those type of wins. And it makes you think that, okay, maybe if I continue to be consistent with this, I can maybe do it full time. So just to kind of wrap this up, Indy, do you have kind of any insights that you can help new traders with out there to help them improve? Because you've jumped in, you jumped in to the deep, the deep part of the pool when you started in late 2020, but you've learned a lot in a short period of time, and you've had some road bumps, and so I think you can definitely probably help some people. Any insights, Indy?
Yeah, I would say just based on my experience, just keep learning, and
Mm-hmm.
don't be afraid to ask for help. And in a way, don't just learn and read, but jump into the water.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm trying to get my wife and daughter interested in as well. So they've been reading books, but I told them eventually you have to just jump in.
Yes, yes, you do have to jump in, because you can understand the textbook, but you're really not going to completely understand options on a level that you need to until you actually put on trades. It's one of those things. It's like you can't learn how to ride a bike through reading how to do it in the textbook, right? Or learn how to drive a car by reading in the textbook. You're going to have to actually do it, right?
Mhm.
And that's the same with options. And some people learn how to drive a car faster than others and better, right? Some people become racetrack drivers and so forth, right? And others, they're not that great. But I think everyone can learn how to trade options. Obviously, people can have different um, um, experiences percentage wise and so forth and success, but everyone can do it, I think, and at least supplement their income. But it takes time. Once again, it's not an overnight thing. Indy, I super appreciate you doing this interview. You're definitely an inspiration to a lot of people out there. And to myself, I learned some stuff from you to this point from already. And that's how to teach people better, how to understand, how to teach people risk better, and you've in that interactive brokers platform, looking at how you navigate that and things like that. It seemed like a difficult platform to kind of learn initially, but it's pretty straightforward to I've been able to learn from you from that. So with that said, Indy, I super appreciate you joining once again, and participating in this interview. And we will hopefully see you have an interview with you again. I'm sure we will, because you're definitely a superstar in the making. With that said, thank you,
So
Indy.
yeah, I also want to thank you, O'Brien, for all your guidance and then the help with my options trading journey.
You're super welcome, Indy, and we got so much more to learn. So it's gonna be a fun next several months. With that said, thanks again, Indy. Everyone, have a good night. Thank you for joining us for this interview. Bye now, everyone.